Especially in the 70s.
Yeah, especially in the 70s.
Ladies, gentlemen, and those with the good sense to do away with the whole notion, I welcome you to the premier audio medium for all your Fazbear entertainment needs. The Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. Note, FFPP is not responsible for any loss of appetite, disinterest, dismemberment, or other legally classified statuses. So strap in and enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast. I'm your host with a toast, right toast, here to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's like we always do. But I've got two very special guests for a very interesting podcast I've been wanting to do for a while. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Corey.
And I'm Connie. We're dual process theory. We've been here before, which was awesome. So we're really glad to be back.
I'm glad to have y'all back. This is so. I believe the last time I had y'all on here was to talk about your "We Solved FNAF" video, right? Like the big video. And I keep doing this thing, and people who listen to the podcast will know I perpetually have no schedule, so I'll record these podcasts at like fuck off hours at night, and you'll never guess we're recording this at a fuck off hour in the middle of the night, but that's okay.
It's okay, we're nocturnal.
You don't want to know when we record our scripts.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, I think
you don't know when Connie's writing the script. It gets bad.
I found my limit is 1 a.m. After 1 a.m. I can't record well, because I recorded at midnight and it actually went pretty well, and then I recorded like 2 episodes before that. I recorded one at 2 a.m. and I kept doing that thing that, like, when you're really tired and you're talking, sometimes you'll doze mid-sentence and suddenly your sentence stops making sense. I did that like 5 times. I had to edit out so much of the podcast.
See, I do that normally. I don't need to be tired for that to happen.
Well, it'll be like a dream takes over whatever I was previously saying, and now the new sentence doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the one that I kept in because it was like just funny to, like, as an example have it, was like, and we know that, you know, Gregory has links to GGY because he was the one that was talking the most. What? Like, I think that was literally like there's a moment where I just paused and didn't know where I was anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, it's not too late, even though it is dark outside. However, I mentioned it's an episode I've been looking forward to creating, and that's because I've mentioned this a couple times and on the channel and on Twitter, but I wanted to, in some way, participate in the dialogue about feminist critique with Secret of the Mimic, because I think it's such an interesting conversation, and I know you two are also really interested in that conversation. So like, let me get some folks on here, and look, I might be non-binary, but I'm very mask presenting, and I thought it would be wild of me to to be like, hold on, everybody, the male looking white guy is going to be the one to have this
Debbie boy
conversation completely by myself.
No, maybe everything but woman, but
yeah, exactly.
Don't worry, it's still girls' night.
Yeah, it's girls' night now.
So it's girls' night. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the perks of being gender fluid. It can be girls' night if I want it to be. So, regardless, I know this is a conversation that we've DM'd several times about. So I'm like, it needs to be a podcast. So I want to straight away give y'all the floor. Unless you'd rather, I kind of, because I do have some bullets on like where to go and what to take it to. But if you had some thoughts right out the gate, just in general, how is this game in, you know, a feminist lens of critique?
Yeah, we didn't start out like, because, you know, we don't usually go into media with like
down. I have some notes written down for sorry.
Well, for just an intro, it's like usually we don't.
That's what I have written down.
Okay.
Yeah, I should have gone.
I'll add whatever you missed if you did.
Okay. Yeah, but like the thing is, like, we don't like go into every new piece of media thinking like, all right, let's see which characters here are sexist. Like we just kind of just, you know, have benefit of the doubt, but obviously we're prone to recognize when something like misogynistic shows up, even if it like seems subtle to everyone else. Like, a good and intentional example would be in mouthwashing. Like, when you notice, like, it's like, Anya's the only woman on the ship, and Jimmy's, like, critiques of her all stem from her ability to do her job. And it's like, kind of like it's a kind of a thing where it's like it seems like a gender specific red flag that like someone who's never had to deal with negging might not pick up on immediately. FNAF is one where we don't really think about gender much. Like,
I mean, there's not many humans to think about it with. So
yeah. And even the characters, like, when I went into FNAF, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that Chica is the only girl one there because this is a critique of like corporate Chuck E. Cheese culture. It makes sense that Chica's like, hi, I'm the lady of the group, you know? It's like, that makes sense because that's how that stuff works. So I never was like gonna critique Scott Cawthon on that. Like, you should add more girl characters. Like, no. And it makes sense that like Roxy is only recently because it's recently that women are allowed to have two of us.
Yeah.
But, like,
God forbid there be two women. Wait a minute.
And then in in Fazbear Frights, like in the flesh we all make fun of, but that like whether it's well done or not, it is very explicitly like a feminist like plot.
I have
this guy disrespects women, so he dies. Then
I have consistently joked that this was before Scott was like, I don't even remember writing that, where I joked that Scott was like went to bed on the couch, like thinking about how much he loves his wife, woke up in a cold sweat, thinking about the wage gap, wrote down, I need a misogynist to suffer, and sent it to Scholastic, and then immediately passed out again and remembered none of it. And nothing is yet to disprove this theory.
But even then, like, I think the one time I like noticed anything gender specific was like when Gibby's going over the Fazbear Frights books. He mentioned something about how a lot of the women seem to die, and I didn't calculate percentages of Fazbear Frights and Tales of women's survival versus male survival in protagonists, and it wasn't great. But that's mostly because there weren't a ton of women protagonists in general.
Fair.
And that's a different and again, it's, you have to also bring of like, it's, if this was potentially a like accidental sexism thing, it's not like they were like, we need to put less women and have them all die. Like, no. If anything, they could have even been like, we're writing horror short stories. Let's have this character die because there's a lot of final girls in media, and we want to like kind of avert that trope. And know that kind, like, it could come from literally anywhere. And I think that's another thing that's good to state is, after we mentioned that Edwin has some sexist actions, we've gotten some pushback against that. Most people are making fun of it, but the pushback that does exist, people tend to forget that sexism isn't like an action you do, it's a filter on your life. It's gonna affect the actions you do instead of, like, you don't do a sexism. I mean, I guess you can, but it's really hard to just do a sexism. And a lot of it is incredibly subconscious. You know, it's something that people do. It's like, well, a lot of the comments were like, well, Edwin can't be sexist. He said he loves his wife. And it's like, well, I'm sure there are a lot of men in the 50s who loved their, like in the 50s, who loved their wives, but also were like, well, a woman's place is in the home. You know, like, you can be both. Yeah. And it's so much of this type of thing is incredibly subconscious and like a muscle spasm, like a reaction. And that, I think, is a good way to go into it, of like, no, Edwin isn't sexist because he hates women or hates Fiona. He is a man, a business owner in like the 70s. And we saw that the commercial, there's going to be some inherent like sexism stuff.
Mention the commercial as part of the intro was the first like kind of hint towards like FNAF is going to
there
something with gender, was when that Cleanovac ad got released as a promo for Secret of the Mimic. And even then, like, when I first saw it in like FNAF or Nervous's stream, I don't remember which was first, I remember like the, Mom, you won't even have to leave the kitchen for the floor to be spotless. And like, even then I kind of like was like, oh, that's funny. Like, I didn't think they were going to go deeper than that. I was just like, okay, they need the ad to look like...
Yeah, like, it's like 70s set dressing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they've always had made fun of corporate stuff. It became the most apparent in, like, FNAF 6 when they had voice acting. It's like, oh, this has always been corporations will screw you over. And when it comes to this time period, that does not exclude women.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like even then it was like, yeah, that seems like funny. I'm spamming in the chat Edwin sexism moments. Like, is that
Yeah.
funny? But like then like when the full by the time the full game came out and we're like watching it, once like you if you'll pardon, the reference, put the pieces together, it's like, oh, there's like definitely some subtext, but I wouldn't even say it's subtle subtext.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that a lot of
Yeah.
people aren't primed to recognize that stuff when it comes up. So, like, it was just,
Which
yeah.
another thing to say is totally fine. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
inexperience is literally okay. When it comes like perpetual oh, what's the word? Like forced ignorance. Like what is that called?
Oh,
Something ignorance.
I know the word you're searching for.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
we're
gone.
all stuck now.
Um
The ADHD curve.
Learned ignorance?
maybe it's something like that where it's like a willful ignorance. That's it.
Well, yeah, okay.
When
Will.
when it becomes willful ignorance is when it becomes like bad, but
Mm-hmm.
not knowing something and then learning it is literally okay. Babies do that every day of their life.
Yeah, and it also comes down to and I do want to point out, because every time I've mentioned this even, I immediately get the authorial intent argument. And as an English major, this is very important to me. I need to be
Yeah.
very clear with everybody in the audience right now. Authorial intent doesn't fucking matter and it never has. Shut the hell up. So when it comes
Yay.
down to, the classic, my teacher said the curtains are blue because it's sad, but the author didn't mean that. He just likes blue curtains. Like, I don't care. If we're talking and we're having a above 5th grade level discussion about a piece of media, we get to look at it with the lenses we want to and interpret it in the ways that make sense within those lenses. That's the whole point of literary analysis, and literary analysis is the bedrock of all analysis, right? So when it comes to taking this game and looking at it through a feminist analysis, like you guys were saying, it's not that like, let's play every game and only look out for sexism. It's like, no, it's a way to look at and process this information. And if you're first, because I know there's going to be people, I would tend to think my community is fairly, left-leaning and open-minded about this stuff, but I know there are going to be people out there who are going to see this and go, ugh, I can't believe that they assumed the whole game is sexist. I was like, how about you fucking take a second and listen? Because the whole point of this discussion that we're about to have is that we're taking this piece of media that we all know, we all enjoy, we all like this piece of media, and seeing how it can be dissected in this way. In a way that, we're not saying that Scott Cawthon, when sitting down to help write this game, was like, I think that women are best when they're only a caretaker, and I want this game to say that. Like, we're not saying that's what happened. If anything, if you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, he's probably keeping, if you want to give him a benefit of the doubt, you can be like, oh, maybe he was purposefully making feminist criticism remarks in this. I don't think so. I think
Well, that's even the thing is,
I think so. Well,
I do think that either him or Steelwool or whoever was like doing this subtext maybe set intentionally. There's just a few bits where, like, throwing in the mom, you won't even have to leave the kitchen. Some of the
there's some
references to the
intentional
Stepford
bits for
Wives
sure.
that we'll probably get into later. Like, I do feel like it was at least partially intentional. Like,
And I
if
think
it
part
wasn't, that's a insane accidental subtext to
No,
have.
yeah, I
the
think
only-
it's the deeper we get down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
the less authorial intent is going to
Absolutely.
matter, is what I mean.
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
The reason we started seeing it, because again, like even as like ladies, we don't go in and we'll see it if it's there, but because we know what to look for, but we're not looking for it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
We only noticed how much was in the game when Connie realized the connection to the Stepford Wives.
Yeah, which is the connection I keep seeing being made, which rightfully so.
Yeah.
Which Connie
I
was just like,
distinctly remember
you were just looking for footage.
Well, the thing is, we'd actually already, the video we have about Secret of the Mimic, like, recap, we actually had already recorded it. And I was, like, halfway through editing, and I'm like, okay, I need some B-roll footage of, like, 70s sexism, and I'll just use the Stepford Wives. And then it like hit me, and I was like, "Oh my god, the Stepford Wives!" I had to run downstairs and like record,
and then we kept
like,
finding connections.
Stuff. That's
like,
if you're wondering in the video why I'm the only one talking about Stepford Wives. It's because I literally just ran downstairs to record all that.
Well,
like,
and that's also fair.
Corey came into my room, and I was like, "Corey, do you know what the Stepford Wives is?" And she was like,
"I didn't know."
And I was like, "Okay, here's the thing."
I didn't know, which now I do. Which, I mean, and that's fair, because when I split out the scripts, because Connie just writes it down and then I split it up, I try to keep it so that, like, oh, if this was a point Connie made, I'll have Connie say it. If this was a point I made or I'm really passionate about, I'll say it. So I do split up the scripts generally to, like, what we inputted. So it probably would have just been Connie anyway if it was originally written like that.
Yeah. No, and there's so many connections in these games, especially to older pieces of media, that like it does it feels purposeful. Like you look at connections to things like war games, where Mexis is basically one-to-one Whopper. You look at connections where I'm forgetting the name of the game. I want to say it's Splinter Cell, but I could be wrong. A Perfect Dark possibly, but there's a female AI villain in a game from this era that, you know, looks very, very similar to the way that M1 presents on the screens. Like there are these connections that are being made, so it's not even close to a stretch to assume Stepford Wives is one of them. Especially since it came out in the movie's 1975. It's the same time.
It was huge for the feminism movement.
Well, you know, because interestingly, originally it kind of bombed because a lot of people assumed that it was like, saying that women belong in the kitchen, despite the fact it's clearly a horror movie, which is wild. But like the thing is, because I remember I was talking about how much it's like the Stepford Wives connects to it. I looked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, the movie's in 1975. This can't be a coincidence.
Yep.
There's a character named Ed.
Again, for something else, and I scroll down and I see Mary Stuart Masterson's debut role was as one of the daughters in this movie, and I'm like,
you're kidding me, right?
That's crazy, by the way.
That was crazy.
That was when I actually like literally just went into the basement to record. I literally just
this isn't just a coincidence.
Like, okay.
Yeah, and when we found the I don't think Ed ever loved me scene, I was like, Connie, we need to have this scene in here, because even if it doesn't directly connect, or if it's just a coincidence in naming, I think that's a good scene to show everything off. And then it ends the scene by a character, by one of the robot characters going like, I was so busy cooking, I didn't have time to clean upstairs. And I'm like, you mean like the Cleanovac ad? Like, it was, again, it was just connection after connection. Oh my goodness!
I need to correct myself real quickly. It was System Shock. The villain is Shodan. That's the image, by the way.
Oh, you're
so
right.
you look at that and it's
I've definitely seen that
a female AI villain that looks like that. Scott, you're not you're not that slick, you know.
Which thinking about it, it makes sense to pull from that, because all of the like evil AI characters I can think of is like Hal. Like they're all guys, but mostly Hal.
Yeah.
And
that's another like, thing to look at with feminist like critique. It's just like, oh, why are they all guys? Like
But in the modern day it makes sense to have more feminine AIs, because But
I was like, you ever notice how like all the like cuddly Disney sidekicks like that do all the slapstick, all of them are guys. Like it's like, it's just something like again, I don't think the Disney execs are sitting there going, make sure there's no women doing slapstick, like even if they're raccoons or whatever. It's just like the people just don't think. They're just like, okay, he's a guy.
To be fair, human women aren't allowed to do slapstick, but also to be fair, a bunch of years of that created K-pop Demon Hunters this year. So now feminism has won.
Which peak movie. So
it's part of movies. In case any viewers are confused, The Stepford Wives was a book.
We should explain what that is. Good call.
The Stepford Wives was a book written by the guy who wrote Rosemary's Baby, in case you're wondering. And then it got adapted into a movie. And the movie's pretty similar to the book. The book is a little more, like, it doesn't exactly say that they're robots, but it's like pretty clear that they're robots. In the movie just goes ahead and shows you, like,
the movie she stabs her and she just pulls it out and is fine. Like,
it's never fully clear in the book, but it is 100% clear in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
we can talk about like, you know, we're not here to talk about like adaptation decisions in the Stepford Wives, but the
Right.
basic plot is like this very like feminist working mom like moves into a new town, and all the women there are just like eerily like submissive housewives who just talk about nothing but cleaning and cooking and child rearing, and like anyone else who moves into the town like slowly just transforms into that personality.
No, not
And
even
eventually
slowly, like
she
overnight.
yeah, overnight.
Yeah, there's
And
there's like
eventually
a
she
there's like a
does-
moment. There's like a planned moment, if I remember.
yeah, and eventually she does figure out they're being murdered and replaced by robots who look like them, but just act because the men in the town like are just like, we don't want these women like, you know, talking and being like people, so we're just gonna make perfect wives and mother bots. Um, and then just like, you know, kill the original. Like it and like it again. It's like again, wasn't really like popular upon release, but it's become such a cult classic since then that it's basically like the term for like the movie companion or like the Don't Worry Darling. Like people are just like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's just the Stepford Wife.
I mean, our mom was like, "Yeah, I was at the school board," and she was like, "It took 2 years for me to start calling them Stepford Wives," which and oh yeah, Connie, I forgot because she was like because she's like a Gen X, I think. She was like, "Yeah, no, I remember watching Stepford Wives as a kid." She was like, "Oh, I was a little older." And I was like, "Yeah, they cuss in that movie. They say like the F word, I think." And she was like, "Well, in my household, that did not matter." She was like, "No, I would have seen it."
Well, also, if she was watching it on TV, they cut that stuff out of TV broadcasts.
That's
True.
true. But
True,
yeah,
true.
I don't think she was watching it at 4 to 5 years old, but she could have been. She wouldn't have remembered it though.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's basically, and the reason that connects is just because basically the big feminist like analysis of Secret of the Mimic is in Fiona being an outspoken woman with a lot of personality
So
who
much.
dies, and then when Edwin like gets the mimic replacement and he's like, oh, this must be Fiona, like it's talking like her or whatever, she only like works as a babysitter, has no goals outside of that, doesn't talk to anyone else, and like when Edwin is like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to work and abandon the kid, she's like, sounds good.
Yeah, that
Like,
was and that was our huge
very
like
Stepford
that was our huge thing of when we were seeing a lot and most of our video is just like, guys, we really don't think Fiona is the F10 is haunted, which
Yeah.
again you can disagree on us with, but a huge part of it is she acts very different. And some of that is in these kind of ways that people might have missed, but us like, as ladies were like, hey, beforehand she was like talking about puppeteering, she loves the employees with all her heart. And then F10, first of all, she, keeps Edwin away from the employees and says, oh, you shouldn't trust them. But then also, she doesn't talk about any of her other passions, puppeteering or, helping run the business. And the huge difference is between David's second birthday, when she gets incredibly upset that
Like,
he's
she
not
sounds
joining
like she's
them.
about to cry.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
sounds like she's about to cry. And then the first birthday we see F10 there for, he says, okay, you watch David, I'm gonna get back to work. And she was just like, okay, yay.
Yeah.
Like,
It-
so
it is
passive.
it is exactly the
Huge
don't worry
difference.
about it, honey. Okay, yay. Like that
Yeah,
text
it's
image.
I
huge,
quote
huge
that every
difference.
day.
It's such a
But
funny
like
thing.
it's just very specific because they're both, it's the end of the second birthday and the fourth birthday where
Yeah.
it's
For
like,
those
it
having
just-
trouble, the second birthday is the hallway scene, and the fourth birthday is
Yeah.
the slide scene. Just
Which
to
I think-
keep everybody up to date.
Which I do think that scene being like the one we first hear the mimic copy is probably also important there. Where again, I think the mimic is okay at copying voice and like actions, but it can't get personality right.
Yeah.
I really don't think it can. And I think F10 is a huge example of that. And I'm so mad we did not notice this for our video. Fiona
Commenter
always
pointed
calls
it out.
Yes, Fiona always calls him Ed. F10 calls him Edwin. And I'm
Oh, I
so
did
mad
not
we
pick
didn't
up on
notice that.
either.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I don't know how we didn't notice that.
I'm pretty sure Fiona calls him Edwin like maybe once or twice. I don't remember there was like one instance.
It
It's
would
almost
my
always
guess would be like
makes
either
sense,
earlier lines or in the dialogue after his dad's death, since it's like more of a somber message.
Yeah, or I was also thinking
Almost-
maybe when she's going to Fall Fest, so like she's kind of mad at him, but also it's like a bit somber.
I remember
Like, moments
going
that would
through
make
all
sense
of her
to
lines, like to check what if the commenter was right, and almost every time she talks to him, she calls him Ed, and never once does Fee the computer call him Ed. It's always Edwin, which I also want to say. I think maybe the reason, first of all, like it could just be normal robot, like, oh, that's his name. But when Edwin's doing the possible ghost hunting in the basement, he says, it's me, Edwin.
Copying his self-nomer instead of what she called him.
Yeah.
And I think
she's responding to
that's
that.
another huge part of this is that the Mimic is obviously copying like whatever recordings or videos they have left of Fiona. However, it is mainly run and managed by Edwin. And a lot of M1 is what Edwin remembered of Fiona and how he saw Fiona, not exactly how Fiona actually was.
It's part of the reason why I think M2 was so unsuccessful, generally speaking, in the sense that, we have the several piles and dozens of recordings of Fiona, whether it's her as pretending to be Mrs. Helpful, whether it's all these home videos that often Fiona was the one recording because she was the one actually caring about this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, we have very, very little recordings of David, because by the time that there'd be any personality in there, Fiona was dead, and Edwin's not recording that. He doesn't care. So there's less material for the Mimic to go off of when recreating David than there was Fiona.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm not even fully convinced that like Edwin ever switched to try and make M2 David. My thought was always that he was trying to make M2 like during like David year 4 or 5 when he was like, okay, this M1
Let's sell
works.
this now.
Let's make an M2. And then he couldn't get it to work because M1 was focused directly on one personality.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get M2 to do that. And then David dies and Fiona's like, okay, just build another one. And he's like, oh, this isn't my wife. And
which again, we always mention it as it was Edwin being like, wait, no, Fiona had more like understanding than this, but also something about that probably chucked it into a system that this isn't my wife. But part of that is like, why did it take her going and saying, make your son a robot, that he's started being like, wait, this isn't right? It wasn't year 1 of living with a robot wife. It wasn't year 2. It was when his son died. It was when she said, make a robot son, that he started freaking out a bit.
And it's still very always important to bring up that in that tape, he still does not take any sort of self-recognition or self-blame, because it's, you stole my time that I should have been spending with my son. Like, it's very like, it's your fault why I did this, which, further goes into the whole a man in the 70s. But and also it's moments like that where I'm like, very clearly it's the ongoing trend where no father in FNAF is a good character except for Ralph. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, Ralph is the only good dad. Godspeed to Ralph. Salute.
Yeah, because William,
he is
William,
taking care
Henry,
of
and
the
Edwin
MCI
are
in the
like
afterlife.
neck and neck on who's the worst father, right? So, and when it comes to Edwin,
I mean, William's probably the worst. Like,
William's the worst, but Edwin and Henry can fight out who's worse.
We can argue about Crying Child.
Yeah.
We know for sure Elizabeth. If anything, that was definitely criminal negligence.
At least.
We could pretty succinctly say he killed Mike on purpose. So he killed on purpose at least one of his kids.
Yeah,
so,
William's the worst one. But battling for second place is Edwin and Henry at all times.
And I mean, if we're going by game canon, then Henry is much more up in the air.
Game canon gives him more lenience. If we're going by books, he did forget about his other kid.
Yeah, I think. And then with Edwin, I think part of it is people are like, but he's so like likable in like the way he talks, and like I get the antisocial inventor personality or whatever, and it's like, yeah, you don't have to be like the world's worst person to have sexist tendencies and horrible decision making.
Yeah,
I think part of it is that for so long, when showing, say, a sexist or a racist character in media, they have to be like a schoolyard bully from an 80s movie. Like, they have to be the most horrible person ever. I mean, obviously they didn't get a lot of time to establish the characters, but even kind of Sinners did that with the two Klansmen. Where the only time we see them is kind of as the worst people ever, but also they didn't have a whole lot of time to establish them, which, I mean, it's fair because the movie isn't about them. But it happens a lot. And I think because of that, people are like, oh, a sexist is a 80s schoolyard bully. And when someone who is generally nice and cool does something like that, they can't, like, it doesn't fit in their version of, like, what sexism or a sexist looks like.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, whether intentionally or not, the entirety of Edwin's character arc is kind of enwrapped in that toxic masculine trait of needing to prove yourself constantly. In the sense that, like, the Cleanovac was a massive success. It seemed like it funded most of the current business with the statues and everything going everywhere, the billboards and all that. And you get these notes where it's like very clearly this becomes an obsession for him, that like he needs to be better than this. You know, there's even in the year 2 birthday tape, it's like this will finally beat the Cleanovac, whatever he was working on at the time. So it wraps back into that, you know, similar to William in his later insane years, that obsession taking over every other aspect of your life, where like already, you know, we get these early tapes where he seems very genuine and very sweet to Fiona, regardless of, you know, whatever undertones are there, because there is still some weird undertones about the fact that you kind of half nepotism own the business and you're approaching one of the, regardless. He at least, you know, on the surface, like you said, he's not immediately, it's like he doesn't seem like he's the worst guy in the world. He seems like very sweet and very genuine, but there are still like these undertones that in his lower moments are more pronounced.
In his proposal, he's like, you make great puppets, you like are helping make this company
is genuinely
great.
Very endearing.
Like he seems like he seems like it's like he does like I think he does love her, but it's the 70s sexism just kind of warps his mind a bit, and it's like, well, like, man, why is she so upset about me going back to work? Like, that's I'm always working. Like, yeah, we have a toddler child and guests in our home. Like,
one of the guests, like, probably Henry, let's be real.
Yeah, but and something else is like, you know, that's probably connected to, like, you know, again, him being a Nepo baby, his dad, he seems to have daddy issues. He's like, he knew I couldn't take over this business. Everyone knew it. Like,
I mean, that's and a lot of
something
that's
that I noticed also after we made that video, which is interesting, because the Mimic short story must have been written like either like around the same time as this or like before. Like, it's has to have been like around the same time. Like, they knew it would be separate continuities or whatever. But and this could have been a ghostwriter thing. I find it really interesting in Seek the Mimic. There's zero mention of Edwin's mom. I mean, there's one. They say the house your parents built. So it's an indirect mention of him having a mom. It's all about the dad. In the short story, there is zero mention of the dad, but there is a mention of Edwin's mom. And, like, I don't know what that means. It's like he says that he used to take apart his mom's like appliances and put them back together or something.
I think part of it is, and a lot of there's kind of two sources for like what we would call as like masculine insecurity, of either it's social, so like society, or daddy issues. And with Edwin's dad being this kind of giga-chad chin looking guy who made a very successful company, ran a business, and he's definitely insecure and sees himself as lesser because he was like, I can't, he knew I couldn't run this company. He clearly not only has some of his own like daddy issues, but also when it comes to the only mention of his mom being in the book and about her appliances, not even her, probably part of it is he probably grew up in that type of household where the dad works all the time and the mom stays home and does child rearing. So when he just moves into that with him and Fiona, he doesn't get why it's wrong that Fiona wants him to be more present because his dad probably wasn't.
Yeah. No, it's that mirroring what you know, is that generational trauma recreating itself. And at this point, in Edwin's eyes, whether or not it is trauma, but in his eyes, it's less trauma and more the expected outcome. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Especially in the 70s.
Yeah, especially in the 70s. And all of this is dependent on the fact that the main writer is also, a middle-aged guy from the South, which should be brought up as well,
Yeah, I mean, dude, when our parents lived in the South, my mom went to go get herself a car because because my dad was like not able to drive her places, and they kept they kept being like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And then at one point, the lady behind the guy behind the desk was like, "Honey, your husband should be driving you." This was in like 99.
Yeah.
Or the year 2000.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's like, and she was like, "Excuse me."
Something else is even with we mentioned the mom only having an indirect mention, also in the short story, and I think probably one of the reasons we picked up on this so fast is Fiona was a plot device in the short story, and that's
so much less.
And that's not inherently wrong. Timmy's dad is a plot device and you're the band. It's not an inherently sexist thing to just have
most
the
of the
mom.
time the MCI are plot devices. Let's be real.
It can be a plot device, just be the sad dead wife. But in the Mimic, it's just okay, she's dead and that means Edwin's struggling. That's a plot device.
Yeah.
And so when she did show up as a character, I think this could have been intentional in the writing of okay, if she did survive, Edwin was if she survived, then she could have taken care of David while I worked. Would she have wanted that?
Yeah.
I think another important thing to bring up is the seemingly false memories that are also given to M1 in this creation. The idea of we have that note where it was there was something went wrong and then I woke up and we were a happy family again, or whatever the exact wording of that note is, right? The idea that even in, and this goes, similar to Henry in this way, even when recreating what you think to be your perfect dead wife or whatever, you do not think that she can handle what has actually happened.
I even think with her saying, "I watched David grow up through this body," I don't think memory-wise, M1 maybe knows anything about the first 2-3 years before Fiona died. Probably partially because, one, maybe she did have complications during her pregnancy and that was an easy out, or she was usually pissed at him and he didn't want M1 doing that.
Yeah. No, it's very
no,
it's almost next to normal coded in that sense as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very
the
incredibly.
idea of thinking what memories are best to keep around and being the decider of that, whether or not even in Edwin's case, if it's unintentional, which who can say? But I think the idea of just controlling the mind that you're creating as you create it. To and there's this whole dialogue we get partway through where M1 is like you brought up earlier, in the isolation of it, the don't tell them they're not ready for it yet, or something like that,
or they won't understand. That's
exactly,
what it was.
Exactly. How much of that is whatever the Mimic decided was the right thing to say there, and how much of that is Edwin's own paranoia leaking into M1? We know Edwin is such a paranoid guy.
And that is such a thing of that is a very modern look at a time period of the 70s where, I mean, we've seen the girl who's obsessed with her therapist and talks to ChatGPT, and it affirms her. It pretends to be a different person. It puts on a personality while just reflecting back what she's already thinking and validating her on that. And I really think I think people are a little scared to bring up M1 is a character.ai. I don't know what to tell you guys.
No, 100%. Especially after that whole disaster with, look, I already hated Gen AI in every form. I'm sure you too as well.
Oh, yeah.
But then it got somehow worse with the, what was it, GPT-5 update that almost was, where people would be like, GPT, my parents want me to take my medication, but I don't want to because they're secretly against me. What do you think? And the response would be, you're so brave in telling me, and you're right. You shouldn't take it.
Yeah, I think that was 4.
Yeah.
No, I think that was 4 because they updated it to 5, so it would stop doing that,
Yeah,
and
like
enough
immediately
people
after
threw
they
a
updated
fit
it.
that you could backtrack because people
Yeah.
were like, "My friend died, brother." That is a program. Like it's already gotten so bad.
Yeah. And we know for a fact Scott is very anti-AI in every storyline that's come out in the past 5 years, you know?
Yeah,
I think that's like the entire. I feel like that's the entire
like what that is.
overarching theme of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Ever
this
since Help
thing
Wanted,
is,
the
like-
main theme of FNAF has been fuck AI.
Like obviously the overarching themes is like, you know, generational trauma and repeating the past and repeating past mistakes.
But now
and
it's generative trauma.
but
Sorry, that was too
mostly it's
confusing.
AI sucks and we shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
This AI isn't your wife, Edwin.
It really is. Oh god, it really just is. I recreated my dead wife in ChatGPT. Here's how it's
Yeah, which I'm sure someone like the fact that I haven't seen that yet. I'm so scared because I know it's gonna happen, and it's probably gonna happen with someone's wife because of the sexism world we live in. Like,
although Corey, not the wife. I have heard, by the way, of a guy who's cheating on his wife with an AI. But
yes, I've heard multiple
that's a
of
different
those.
thing.
Plenty of
but,
those.
I actually saw I think maybe even an hour ago, Zelda Williams, Corey, she's Robin Williams' daughter. The she put out an Instagram story saying, "Stop sending me AI videos of my dad. I don't know why you think I want to see that."
That's nuts.
But
That's
she was
messed up.
she was like, trolls, I just ignore and block. But if you genuinely think you're helping, I don't know why you think that.
Well, and there's the
I
stupid.
don't want to see that. And
There's them selling the rights to AI Stan Lee. Do you know about that,
Yeah.
Connie?
Yeah.
It's this is happening. This is a thing that's going on.
But it's the fact that people even now people are just yeah, of course she would want to see an AI image of her dead dad.
Yeah.
No. What part of who has been teaching you morals? Who has been teaching you empathy?
And it's so clear in the just not even implications, in the direct text of Secret of the Mimic, that Edwin, at least for the majority of his life, maybe once he realizes what's going on before he dies, sure, he changes his mind then, but for the majority of MCM, for the majority of his life, he's just an AI bro from the 70s. I mean, there's the line in the theater where it's we replaced the talent. It's so very clearly the text of the game, not the subtext.
Oh, and that was also something with the misogyny someone pointed out, is him just straight up being I don't remember where it was, but he was it's around that point where he's shilling his AI, and he's like, don't you find puppeteers annoying or something?
Oh,
Your puppeteers being difficult. That's what it was. He said your puppeteers being difficult.
Oh, I didn't even think about it.
Well, and then the main face girl character, the nurse, he's like, well, obviously I'd have to flirt with her in the intro video. It's like, what?
yeah. Let me make my best attempt at a hot nurse robot, and she's really into me. And that's just normal. We're not going to address it.
Yeah.
Normal.
But even just kind of referring to Fiona equals puppeteer, just in this general sense, but just referring to her as difficult. That is so 1970s sitcom
because her being difficult is hey, can you spend some time with your kid? Hey, can you spend some time with me? Hey, can you take a break for a minute? And then he's like, oh my god,
to sing happy birthday.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And he's like, man, what is wrong with you?
Well, it comes back to the very sad, very possible notion that the storybook machine in the bedroom of David wasn't made to quell the mimic. It was made to read bedtime stories to David. Right.
Right.
I fully believe it was. It was Tory-tailed, this channel I was watching. They have a video on how they don't think that M1 was ever in the endoskeleton, and that it was just kind of it was all the Fee program was always in the computer in the basement, and then
it would have just been puppeting the endoskeleton.
Yeah.
Okay, because she says something specifically like, she specifically says something like, I watched David grow up through this machine instead of like a machine or these machines.
See, my personal thought
is that she's like, she had control of the mimic hive mind, and eventually Edwin got pissed at her, locked her out of the M2 endoskeleton, and then when it lost connection to the hive mind, it was like, okay, what do I mimic now? I was around David all the time. I can just mimic that. Just accidentally.
Yeah, I mean, my thought was, since the F10N4 machine is very much like, this is a security machine, because it's in the security office with where the computers are. It has a bunch of cameras. It's connected to the security cameras of that area. I think the computer itself is meant to be a security system. F10N4 has access to like the garage door to let you out.
Yeah.
Probably is watching via the security cameras. So
yeah, because I think it definitely is, because we get that one line after Big Top where it's like, I lost connection with you for a bit. What happened? Which implies that for the rest of the game, F10's watching.
What my assumption was that Edwin started getting really paranoid and building all of these like security cam rooms. My thought was like, he built that security system when he was getting hyper paranoid, which would have been after M1. And my thought was that he probably just named it F10N4 because he was like, yeah, I like my dead wife. And then the mimic saw that on the computer and went, oh, awesome, me, and hopped in.
Like the okay, so yeah, Tory-tailed. Brought up was in the was it is possible that the mimic started copying her voice because he made the storyteller like machine to read David a story, and so the program was like, oh, copy Fiona's voice, I can do that.
Yes. Like, and again, it's the mimic is he put it there to be a babysitter bot.
Yeah.
The question is, like, did he already know it had Fiona stuff in it, or was that added later, or did it start mimicking Fiona because it's babysitting David? That's a whole discussion.
Yeah, because it gets weird, because it definitely seems that there is a moment in time where M1 is Edwin is treating M1 as Fiona before the company knows about this. There is a moment of time that's guaranteed. But then there's the other moment of time where when he's introducing M1 to David, he is very like, this is M1. It is your babysitter, which, you know, that could still be keeping a secret for F10N4 and keeping a secret of that, like, being treated as Fiona. But that might be that when first implemented, the original idea was just a puppet-like babysitter.
Yeah. And that's a mini theory time. I think that's why there's a costume of the White Tiger, is David was audibly scared of the mimic, and he was like, oh, well, he could put on any costume you want, and I'm guessing David was still freaked out, so they made a White Tiger costume. Like, you know that commercial of the Golden Retriever and the lion mane? They did that.
Yeah. What is have you guys, I'll see if I can find it after in case you haven't. Have you seen the animation for that audio tape? Why does it look like that tape? Someone did a little animation. It's so well done, where it's just like Edwin sitting there smiling and then just the dead eyes of the mimic staring at David. It's so well done.
Because of how the old mimic is, it's a little bug-eyed, so it's just...
Well, because it reminds me of one of my favorite like fan works of FNAF ever was just like, it's this animatic of William and Henry designing Fredbear and Spring Bonnie and whatnot, and this is, who knows if this is how it went down or whatever, but it was the idea of they're designing it, and then it cuts to Henry being like, hey Will, why'd you give that thing sharp teeth? And it cuts to Fredbear with like these giant jagged sharp teeth, and William's like, it's a bear. It reminds me of that kind of thing.
That's my favorite FNAF thing ever might be, it's an animatic of GGY with GGY waking up Tony with the I just murdered your entire family, and Tony's just like, but I live here alone. Who's that? But who are these people in your house? There's people in my house. Dumb bitch. Yeah. I just say, and then he crawls out the window. I just saved your life. You're welcome. And when we first found that, I was sitting there just watching it on repeat. It's so well done.
Second only to
it's an audio from TikTok.
Yeah.
No, and I'm like, no, it's from this video now.
Well, the second only to, I want to say, it's Sabrina's Nightmare. I might be misremembering the artist behind it. But there is another audio from TikTok that was then turned into a FNAF thing where it was just Gregory, I'm pretty sure at this point, GGY, where it's just like, hey, I wanted to shut up and go sit over there. Fine. And it's just him on the tablet and you hear like Angry Birds start up.
Gregory is the iPad baby of all time. The iPad took him over. The only other I don't know if anyone's animatic it. I really hope so. It was someone doing a reenaction TikTok of the reason why the argument between whether Bonnie is blue or purple exists, because like Henry's sitting there, he's like, I don't know, with all the other colors we can really have the primaries if we make him blue, and then William is sitting there shaking, I want him to be purple. It was really good.
Oh god. And but then that, to wrap it back, speaking of purple, hey guys, just chiming in to say this conversation was so good, but also so very long, so this is actually going to be split up into a two-parter. Part 2 will come out next week as the next podcast episode, but just for now, don't forget to check out their socials below and expect more excellent conversations next week. However, as always, thank you for watching the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Podcast, where the pizzabilities are endless. We hope to enjoy your future patronage. Bye-bye for now.